Did they try to warn you? You had £1.2 million, you lost £500,000, it's your own fault.
Yeah. I was stupid, I was all these bad words. It's like a mental trauma, so you don't understand.
He was an actor in America?
Yeah, he was an actor in America.
Who did you think he was?
I'm not sure whether I should say his name out, really.
Well, you can say his name.
Well, he said he was Gerard Butler.
Obviously, extremely distraught, upset, vulnerable. But for our next guest, Anne Larkin, losing her husband of 34 years made the sense of isolation that much more unbearable.
Well, turning to social media for comfort, Anne was looking for friendship and someone to talk to. Sadly, all she found was a pair of fraudsters who scammed her out of £500,000. And it's a heartbreaking story. And Anne joins us now to tell her story as a warning to others. And thank you for coming in here and sharing this today. And really, this is all born out of a horrible loss. And I'm so sorry because Graham, your husband, you sadly lost him in 2019. You've been married for 34 years and it happened quickly. So it was very much a shock, wasn't it?
Yeah, he went in on the 7th of November and 10 days later he was dead.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I'm sorry.
And I read this morning there was a sizable death of service payout. What's it? I didn't know what it was. What's a death of service payout?
I didn't understand it myself at the time. The way it was explained to me, it's because he was a director. It's an insurance that the company's put out on directors.
Right.
I'm surmising it's if something happens to them if they're away in business abroad. I was expecting a low amount of 100,000, 200,000, something like that. I actually got 1.275 million.
Wow. Well, and of course, it's a lot of money, but it's no comfort for losing your husband at
Especially,
all.
I mean, he's put the years in. I mean, that was his his business. So you are obviously extremely distraught, upset, vulnerable. You lose the love of your life, and then suddenly we're all in lockdown. And you hadn't used social media that much, but you decided that you would use that for company.
Technically, I use social media as my newspaper.
Yeah, because you're a photographer.
Yeah, I look at other people's photographs and just getting the news on what's going on in the world throughout the other countries and that lot, because I don't really read newspapers. I don't really watch the news on the TV. I tend to find it a bit depressing sometimes because it's always doom and gloom that they're showing rather than the good side of things that go on in the world.
So like many people, you know, social media, particularly in lockdown, became a bit of a lifeline. It was an access point to share poetry, to share photography, all the lovely, positive sides of social media. And it was on here that you started talking to these two people in particular. We should say these are just conversations online. At no point did you speak to somebody on the phone. This was just an initial connection. So let's start. Exactly. So let's start with the first man. So he claimed to be an American soldier.
Yeah.
And he managed to make this connection with you because there was a lot of similarities, different lives, but there was a similarity.
Yeah. It told me that he'd lost his wife and his daughter in a car crash 5 years before. Said he had a son who was in military school, and I said, why have you left your son? And he said that he couldn't cope with the loss of his wife and his daughter. He signed up to go with the UN to Yemen, and he was at a point now where he wanted to go back to his son.
And the other one, so he was Clinton.
That was Clinton.
And the other one is it just G?
Yeah, because of the person he said he was. It's not fair to him to say who he was.
Who did you think he was? He's an actor in America.
Yeah, he was an actor in America.
Who did you think he was?
I'm not sure whether I should say his name out, really.
Well, you can say his name.
Well, he said he was Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're talking to Gerard Butler, and he never identifies himself.
No.
I mean, it wasn't salacious in any way. He was talking about charity.
The conversation with him started off because I'd made a comment of a photograph that was put on. I'm surmising it was his Facebook page.
Yeah.
And I just put on very pensive image. Didn't think anything of it. Didn't think anything would come of it because I'd put on from like Brad Pitt and other celebrities of photographs of them, you know, like with Kim Kardashian with the dresses that she wears, great dress and stuff like that. Never got anything back. I think it was about a week and a half to 2 weeks after a message came through on Facebook Messenger saying, I'm Gerard Butler, you know, and I'm an actress also. Why did you say that comment? And I just said, well, that's what I thought. For me, it looked as though you had something on your mind when the photograph was taken, but you weren't sure how to express it.
So that's where the connection, that's where that happened. That was the moment where the conversation began to open. And you can understand that this sort of conversation, yes, it wasn't him, but you can understand those conversations open up and happen on social media. I guess the bit where people would go, oh, hold on a minute, is this right, is when the talk of money comes up. And it started off, first of all, with Clinton. And he, first of all, was saying that he wanted money for the flight. So I think between sort of £1,000, £2,000 is what you sent to him so that he could go and visit his son. Within your work, I mean, you were a police special constable for 4 years. Was there not any alarm bells ringing at the time?
No, none at all. When you're in that type of grief of someone you expected to spend the rest of your life with, whether it's a good marriage or a bad marriage, you still expect to spend the rest of your life with them. You expect to either you die before them or they die before you. Into your 90s, possibly. Your brain can't function right because you have all these emotions that are bombarding you all together.
So Clinton, the soldier or UN guy, he wants to get back and see his son. So that's, you know, what would that take? An airfare, you know, sort of top whack, £1,500.
I can't tell you exactly what the airfare could be.
But I mean, not certainly not.
Yeah.
As much as the money that you sent. So you're sending money to him. You're sending money to, and we keep stressing this is absolutely not Gerard Butler.
It's not.
So you're sending money to a very famous rich actor. Why were you sending money to an alleged rich Hollywood actor?
It was talking about a compound being built for homeless children and homeless families. They were building a school, they was building housing, they was building an hospital, there was other outbuildings that was being built.
Did he do it through a foundation? Did he say, I've got this charitable foundation?
He didn't say anything
just
about it.
Send the money directly to me?
Just sent the plans of me, what was being built, how it was being built. And they were building funds to get it all built in one go rather than in different sections.
What was the most you sent him in one go?
In one go, 20,000.
And this, as we said, between the two of them, this turned into £500,000. And there are going to be people. I mean, you did point out, which took me by surprise actually, because I didn't know that you'd actually got £1.2 million at the beginning of it. There are going to be people watching this who are going to be less sympathetic. They're not going to take into account just how vulnerable you were, losing the love of your life. But you had £1.2 million, you lost £500,000. It's your own fault.
Yeah, I completely agree with them. There's nothing that anybody out there that can say any nasty bad words about me that I haven't said myself.
Yeah.
I've always said that, because they've even messaged me and I've said, you are entitled to your opinion. And I completely agree with it.
Yeah.
I was stupid, I was all these bad words, but you need to think about how you would cope if you was going through what I was going through.
Yeah.
And also, all you're guilty of is being a good person that's trying to help someone, you know?
Yeah.
That's actually all it was. And I'm sorry that they took advantage of you in this way. I really am. You did manage to get quite a lot of the money back, actually. I think it was sort of like 345,000, and it was the bank that gave you that money back.
Which is, that was a stunner for us. I mean, that's amazing you got that back.
The way the bank explained it to me was because they didn't notify the police themselves initially and didn't protect me, then they have a duty of care and
Did they try to warn you?
No.
Because in the NatWest right of reply here, it says, as a bank, we take our responsibility to our customers very seriously and will try to prevent them from experiencing this sort of financial loss and emotional manipulation. We will always try to break the spell of the scammers, but unfortunately in this case, despite our efforts, we were unable to convince our customer that she was being scammed.
No, I never received any phone call. Even when I went into the bank, nobody ever questioned it.
Wow.
Would you have stopped if they had?
Possibly, yeah.
What about your family? Did anyone else say what you're doing?
I found out after the first interview that went on the news that my sister-in-law had an idea this was going on. My daughters had an idea this was going on, but never stepped in.
Never stepped in. And that's really the purpose of sitting here right now, is to say, I mean, will you explain, what would you say to somebody who maybe is being scammed right now, or somebody that knows a family member that they've got a suspicion, like yours did, that something may be going on?
The person that's being scammed, like myself, I didn't realise I was being scammed. If you're going through grief, it's like a mental trauma, so you don't understand. Even if you're somebody that's looking for love, you're still going through a form of grief because you want to stop being alone.
Of course. And the thing is that, you know, as we point out here to anyone who is unsympathetic, you lost the love of your life. You are incredibly vulnerable, and those are the people that they prey on. It is an organised group that got you.
Yeah, the police think it's like a pyramid.
Yeah.
They start off with one person.
Yeah.
They start you off talking to find out bits about you, and then they move you on to someone else.
And then they come.
And then you sort of like come down the triangle to...
Which is well worth being warned about as well,
Yeah,
you know.
it really
they're clever.
Yeah,
They're clever, cruel and heartless.
Very clever.
Yeah.
Very clever.
I'm sorry for your loss, but
Telling
thank
us
you for
your
talking to
story.
us today.
Thank you.